Europe offers some of the best road trip experiences in the world, but using the wrong rental car can turn that dream trip into a travel nightmare. In this video, we're counting down the 11 worst car brands you'll regret renting in Europe. So before you hit the road for the summer, make sure you're not stuck with one of these cars. You'll be glad you did. Number 11, Seat. Starting things off with Seat, Volkswagen's Spanish cousin that you'll find on nearly every European street for no good reason. From the compact Ibiza to the slightly more stylish Arona, Seat cars are a rental agency favorite. But here's the catch. Most rental agencies stock the lowest trims, and that's where the problem starts. Sure, the name has a bit of European flair and exotica, but the experience is nothing near that. Take the Seat Ibiza, for example. A very popular choice, yes, but a score of 78% in owner reliability surveys puts it near the bottom of its class, which doesn't exactly scream confidence. Step into one and you'll be met with a cabin filled with hard plastics, basic padding, and not much in the way of comfort. The entry-level engines are designed more for sipping fuel than getting anywhere in a hurry. So expect slow, labored acceleration, especially on hills or highways. And it doesn't stop there. Many rental Ibizas lack basic modern touches like adaptive cruise control, decent infotainment, or even proper sound insulation. That means you'll hear everything: the tires, the wind, the road, and probably your own regrets as you move along from one town to the next. Ride comfort isn't great either, and things get even tougher on cobblestone streets or winding rural roads. To be fair, higher-end Seats like the Leon or Ateca are fairly better seeing as they offer much more polish and performance. The rental fleets rarely stock those models in large numbers. Instead, you'll likely find a stripped-down Ibiza or Arona. Decent options for short trips, but not ideal for longer drives. Here's the takeaway on Seat rentals. They carry the same issues as older Volkswagens: creaks, rattles, and the occasional reliability scare. If comfort and peace of mind are what you're looking for, it might be worth looking elsewhere. Hey, if you're enjoying this channel focused on the European car market, don't forget to subscribe for more updates, insights, and exciting content coming your way. Moving on, let's take a look at a car brand you'll probably be surprised to see on this list. Number 10, Land Rover. Let's keep it a buck. A decade ago, a Land Rover sounded like luxury. But when it comes to the European rental game today, it's often more of a liability than a flex. While you won't see these in every corner rental agency, some premium providers still offer the Range Rover lineup. Tempting, sure, but don't let that plush interior fool you. Across Europe, Land Rovers are known for being the least reliable brand on the road. Consumer surveys routinely place them dead last, with reliability scores around 64%. And that's majorly because of the brand's fragile air suspension systems, overly complex electronics, and an endless parade of warning lights that are sometimes unnecessary. In tight cobbled city centers or narrow alpine roads, these large SUVs are more trouble than they're worth. Fuel economy's poor, especially when petrol costs €180 a liter or more. Maneuvering a massive Land Rover through medieval villages or underground car parks is as stressful as you could imagine. It's even worse trying to find parts or service for a breakdown outside major cities. Then there's the insurance problem. Minor issues can trigger major alarms, and if something fails, you're often stuck waiting for a fix that may never come during your trip. A warning light mid-route in southern Italy or on a ferry to a Greek island. Not exactly the luxury experience you were promised. Renting a Land Rover in Europe might sound like a good idea, but behind the wheel, it's often glitchy, unreliable, and unnecessarily stressful. For that price tag, you'd expect smooth sailing, but instead, you get unexpected stops and overpriced fuel ups. In short, Land Rover's not the brand you want to be stranded with in a foreign country. The same can be said for this next brand. Number 9, Lancia. Like most Italian monuments, Lancia was once a proud brand but is now barely clinging on for dear life to avoid going extinct. And we're not even being metaphorical. This car has only one model, the Ypsilon, available almost exclusively in the Italian market. Outside of its home country, spotting a Lancia is rare. When you do spot one, be sure to avoid it, even if it seems like a good pick on budget rental lineups. So what's the problem with this brand? Taking the Ypsilon as a subject, this car runs on old platforms, old engines, and old tech. Reliability scores hover around 80%, which might sound okay until you realize it ranks near the bottom in European breakdown studies. Step inside and you get a cabin of a car frozen in the mid-2010s. The infotainment's practically prehistoric. Materials? Hard plastics and worn fabrics. Most rental Ypsilons are several years old and they feel it. Rattles, tired suspension, and fading trim are par for the course. Driving one doesn't help its case either. The clutch is notoriously hard to maneuver and awkward, especially in hilly towns like Naples or Florence. Acceleration's slow, especially with a full boot and passengers on board. The whole experience feels more like borrowing someone's aging secondhand car than renting something meant for a holiday. And don't expect fancy features. Many models lack modern safety tech, decent sound insulation, or even functional air conditioning. It's bare bones motoring dressed up in a badge that hasn't been relevant in over a decade. So while Lancia might sound romantic and distinctly Italian, the reality is you're essentially renting a used Fiat with more badges than updates. It's fine for a quick city drive, but for anything longer, you'll wish you'd picked literally anything else. Coming up next are a couple of cars you'll be surprised to find on this list, so you might want to brace for impact. Number 8, Ford. But it's freaking Ford. How can a Ford be a bad option for rentals? Well, two things. One, it's not the 1970s, and two, not every Ford is like the Mustang or the Model T. From the Fiesta to the Focus, the models of this brand you're likely to see in a host of budget rental fleets across the continent are massively underwhelming. The parts are cheap, and they're usually easy to drive, but scratch beneath the surface, you'll find that many rental Fords are simply past their prime. Ford ranks poorly in recent European breakdown surveys, and in the real world, that translates to rental models that often come with high mileage and signs of wear. The Fiesta, a go-to city rental, frequently lacks proper sound insulation. Add in small cabin space and stiff manual clutches, and it quickly becomes a chore and stop-start urban traffic, especially in places like Lisbon or Paris. With Focus, things improve, but only slightly. Older fleet models tend to have tired suspension and vague steering feel. Excessive body roll on twisty roads makes driving less fun than it should be. Sure, the chassis was well tuned when new, but that shine fades fast after 100,000 plus kilometers of hard rental life. To be fair, a brand new Focus or Fiesta can still deliver decent ride quality and respectable handling. But most rental agencies don't give you the latest and greatest. They give you what's been driven hard, often with only the bare minimum maintenance. So while Ford may be a safe-sounding choice on paper, the reality in European rental fleets is often different. Worn interiors, dashboard warning lights, and a driving experience that leaves a lot to be desired. If the last entry surprised you, how about this next one? Number 7, Volkswagen. Yep, the iconic German giant also make our list of the worst rental cars to get in Europe. Rental Volkswagen cars in Europe are just proof that what's common isn't always reliable. From the VW Polo to the Up and even older Golfs, the brand is a go-to option in rental fleets everywhere from Spain to Slovakia. But despite the brand's global reputation for solid German engineering, Volkswagens often hide more problems than you'd expect. Rental Polos, for example, are often fitted with underpowered 1-liter engines and jerky automatic gearboxes, especially the DSG. That makes city driving feel sluggish and stop-start traffic in places like Rome or Barcelona more frustrating than it should be. And don't let that Golf badge fool you either. While newer high-trim Golfs are genuinely refined, most rental agencies stock older low-spec diesels, often with upwards of 100,000 kilometers on the clock. One major survey found even the diesel Golf cars ranked just 70% in reliability. If you ask us, that's got something to do with the scratchy plastics and minimal tech found in the interior of rentals from this brand. That said, Volkswagens are generally better built than a lot of their competition. Panels fit well, the drive's usually composed, and handling remains tidy. But aging rental models come with their share of quirks. Flickering warning lights, occasional infotainment freezes, and those faint rattles that just won't go away. So yes, the good old VW might sound like a safe pick, and sometimes it is. But in the rental world, don't be shocked if what you get is a noisy, bare-bones diesel that's seen better days. Now let's move over to a brand that's everywhere in Europe, but not always in a good way. Number 6, Renault. Renaults are hard to miss in rental fleets all over Europe, whether it's the tiny Clios or the family-sized Megane and Scenic. And that's no mistake. You see very few known car brands tick the budget box like Renault cars. However, these cars end up being quite underwhelming where it actually counts. The Clio is especially common in rentals across France, Italy, and Portugal. Don't let the name fool you into expecting much. Travelers frequently report being handed dented or visibly worn models, even when they'd booked something higher end. Base model Clios and Scenics, which are common in most rental fleets, often lack refinement. Interiors feel outdated, infotainment systems are clunky or missing entirely, and hard plastics dominate the cabin. Don't be surprised by broken interior trim, missing knobs, or sagging door pockets. If you'd gotten one of these cars brand new, you'd be glad since it has the quality to see hard use. But as rentals, it shows. Mechanically, Renault cars can be a gamble. Common gripes include failing electric windows, dodgy sensors, and clutches that feel like they've had one city hill start too many. If you're planning a long motorway drive or alpine road trip, you might want to think twice. That said, higher-spec Meganes can be decent drives when new, but rental fleets tend to hold on to them well past their prime. This results in cars that feel tired, vibrate more than expected, and sometimes leave you making that offered call to roadside assistance. So if you care about driving feel and peace of mind, it's probably worth spending a bit more elsewhere. But we're not done just yet. Far from it, actually. Moving on with our list of the worst car brands you'll regret renting in Europe, let's take it all the way to France. Number 5, Peugeot. Peugeots are everywhere in Europe's rental market, especially models like the 208, 308, and the now aging 2008 SUV. At first, they seem like a smart, easy option, compact, cheap, and easy to park. But look closer and the story changes. Peugeot consistently ranks among the worst European brands for breakdowns, with reliability scores hovering in the low 80s or worse. Many rental Peugeots are often old fleet cars, especially in southern Europe where aging 208s and 308s with tired suspensions and high mileage are still in rotation. These cars often feel worn down and it shows in the details. Squeaky dashboards, drooping seats, and stiff, unrefined gear changes. Then come the electrical gremlins. Faulty engine sensors, buggy infotainment, and unexpected warning lights are common renter complaints. Ride quality is another weak point. While Peugeots are known for soft suspension, in reality, older models often deliver a flat, disconnected feel, especially on the rougher roads of Eastern or rural Europe. Combine that with basic trim levels lacking in features like cruise control or proper climate systems, and the experience becomes less relaxing than hoped. So sure, you might save a few euros up front by picking a Peugeot, but in return, you're often saddled with a tired, underwhelming car that feels like it's one stop away from a roadside call-out. Coming in at number 4, we have Citroën. Citroën models like the C3, C4, and C5 are regular fixtures in European rental lineups, especially in France, Spain, and southern Italy, but while they might look charming and friendly, they come with their fair share of frustrations. Just like their sister brand Peugeot, Citroën ranks low in European reliability charts, with survey scores hovering in the low 80s and a reputation for regular breakdowns. One of the first things you'll notice in a rental Citroën is the ride. Soft, cushiony, and almost floaty. That's fine on city roads, but on twisting alpine passes or rural highways, it can feel vague and unstable. Older models are especially prone to body roll, making spirited driving a chore. Pair that with underpowered engines in most rental spec cars, and you're left with a car that struggles uphill and whines at motorway speeds. Inside, Citroëns often show their age quickly. Budget interiors mean lots of hard plastic that scratches easily and gives off more rattles than confidence. Climate control is another weak spot. Citroën is regularly listed in owner surveys as one of the worst for HVAC issues, especially air conditioning that fails just when you need it most. Rental C3s and C4s are often high mileage and visibly tired, with buttons that stick, infotainment systems that lag or glitch, and that unmistakable feeling that this car has been used hard and put away wet. Sure, they're economical and easy to park, but for longer road trips or cross-border drives, a Citroën rental can quickly go from quirky to irritating. Between the vague handling, climate system gremlins, and generally worn condition, Citroëns are often better admired from afar than experienced behind the wheel. Moving into the top 3 cars you should not rent on your next trip to Europe. Check it out. Number 3, Opel Vauxhall. Opel is one of the most common brands in European rental fleets, especially the Corsa, Astra, and older Insignia. While they're easy to find, that doesn't mean they're worth choosing. Opel consistently tops consumer reliability surveys for mechanical faults. In real-world rentals, that translates into high-mileage Astras and Corsas with worn-out suspensions, tired clutches, and squeaky interiors. These aren't factory-fresh hatchbacks, they're workhorses showing their age, especially in countries like Spain, Greece, or Italy where rental fleets are maxed out. Inside, expect a very no-frills experience. Entry-level Opels use hard, scratchy plastics, thin seat padding, and weak noise insulation, so you'll hear every pebble and gust of wind, especially on the motorway. When the weather changes, things go south fast. Opel is one of the worst-ranked brands in Europe for HVAC failures. According to European breakdown data, around 7% of Opel's recorded faults are linked to faulty air conditioning or heating systems. Renters regularly report stuffy cabins in summer or ineffective defogging in winter, hardly ideal when navigating unfamiliar roads and harsh conditions. All of this makes Opel rentals a bit of a gamble. Sure, they're cheap to hire and easy to drive in tight city centers, but many feel like they've already lived a hard life by the time you get the keys. Between mechanical fatigue and climate control headaches, a budget Opel could turn your holiday drive into a frustrating experience. Approaching the end of our list, another rental car brand you must absolutely avoid is number 2, Fiat. Whether it's the Fiat Panda 500 or the awkwardly roomy 500L, these models are everywhere in budget rental fleets. While they might be small on price, they're also small on comfort, quality, and long-haul capacity. The Panda's cabin is about as no-frills as it gets. Hard plastic everywhere, minimal tech, and barely any sound insulation. It may do fine for a quick dash through Rome's narrow alleys, but take it on the motorway, and you'll likely notice how breathless it feels. Even the peppy-looking 500 struggles when loaded with luggage or passengers, and on hilly terrain or faster roads, these cars feel strained. Fiat's reliability isn't much better. In European reliability rankings, Fiat hovers close to the bottom, scoring about 88%, largely due to frequent minor faults. That means warning lights, electrical glitches, or climate control hiccups are all too common in rental Fiats, especially older ones that dominate the fleet. Safety-wise, budget spec models often lack basic features like advanced driver assist or updated infotainment. Renters used to modern comforts will be underwhelmed, and while they're easy to park and cheap to fuel, the ride's often noisy, bumpy, and tiring on long trips. In summary, if you're just visiting a small city and looking to save a few euros, a Fiat might be tolerable. For anything longer, rougher, or more scenic, Fiat rentals tend to underperform. What you save up front, you might pay for in discomfort and frustration. And finally, for the last entry on our list is Dacia, the budget choice that will definitely cost you way more than you thought was possible. Number 1, Dacia. Dacia is a Romanian budget brand under Renault that's become a preferred option for low-cost rentals across Europe. Whether it's the Logan, Sandero, or Duster, these cars are practically built for operators who care more about cost than comfort. At first glance, Dacias look like a decent deal. They're affordable, spacious, and very available, but once inside, the charm doesn't last. Expect cabins filled with brittle plastics, bare-bones controls, and a noticeable lack of sound insulation. Performance is just as underwhelming. Most Dacias and rental fleets run on tiny 1-liter engines that are painfully slow. Renters often complain that acceleration is sluggish even at low speeds. And overtaking on highways becomes a nerve-wracking problem. Handling's loose, brakes can feel vague, and the ride gets harsh on rough roads. Dacia's budget focus also means compromises on safety and build quality. Advanced safety features are rare in the base models you're likely to rent. Reliability isn't much better. Though they're mechanically simple, reports of cabin rattles, minor electrical faults, and worn-out fittings are common, especially in high-mileage rentals. Overall, Dacias aren't the best options for long drives or scenic routes through Europe. They're a rough ride. Between the sluggish engines, Spartan interiors, and risk of roadside frustration, Dacia easily earns its place as the worst rental brand on the continent. And that's all for this list of the 11 worst car brands you'll regret renting in Europe. Which other models do you think should make our list? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching. If you're enjoying this channel focused on the European car market, don't forget to subscribe for more updates, insights, and exciting content coming your way.